Simpson's there, Billy in. A goal, Chris Billy, Huddersfield Town. The most famous goal of Chris Billy's life.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town.
Ruby and Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted.
Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Hello and welcome to the very last warm-up episode. Killer is working away today on his phallus Karana, or phallus Kasana, I should say, on his pose, but he promises to be back next week after a short break. And this week I've got a man who knows how to stretch. It's Neil Wayne. Welcome to the warm-up, Neil.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
I've completely butchered that intro. I think it's a phallakasana pose, but I've changed it to phallus Kasana because obviously it's Killer. And
Standard.
But anyway, yeah, I've completely butchered that. So great start. Okay, so we're here to preview the match of Rotherham United versus Huddersfield Town this coming weekend. It's only going to be a short episode, this, because I realise we'll be releasing this a little bit later than usual, and there's less time to consume it. So we'll keep this as nice and brief as we possibly can. Neil, what do you know about Huddersfield Town versus Rotherham? If you don't know, I will tell you very, very, very much now. Right, so Huddersfield Town's record against Rotherham is a pretty good one. We covered Shrewsbury last week, and Town versus Shrewsbury games are always awkward affairs, so I'm not sure why we decided to go with 4-0 in the end after Shrewsbury have always proved to be an awkward opponent. But Rotherham, on the other hand, so the teams have played 62 times, quick maths there. Huddersfield Town have won 31 of them, so that's a good 50% rate for Town winning against Rotherham. There's been 19 draws and only 12 Rotherham wins. The first match was in 1952 in December. Huddersfield Town winning 1-0 in the old League Division 2. And the last match, obviously, was last season, which was that horrendous 0-0 draw at the New York Stadium, where Sorba Thomas managed to get himself sent off, and Andre Brighton-Writer started to unravel, shall we say, somewhat. So a couple of games that stand out for me. In particular, one that really came out was Trevor Keith Edwards getting a hat-trick against them in 1991.
That's
Going back a ways.
Sadly, I don't remember it.
Yeah, recently been going through some of the old videos, and Huddersfield Town 4, Rotherham United 0 was a very, very good game from my very young youth. Going back and before my time, in 1987, Town and Rotherham drew 4-4 in the League Cup, which was a very interesting one. And then obviously Town lost the replay because League Cups, Huddersfield Town. There you go.
Yeah, not happening, is it?
Yeah, exactly. So there's been some really interesting games between them in the past. Huddersfield Town are unbeaten against Rotherham in the last 3 appearances. Touchwood, jinx, and all that, so we don't curse it for Saturday. Rotherham have only beaten us once. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You can tell I'm doing this on the fly, can't you? So Rotherham have only beaten us once in the last 11 games, where Town have actually won 6 of them. So Huddersfield's form against Rotherham historically is pretty good, and recently is also pretty good. So reasons to be hopeful for that, I'm sure, Neil, as well. The recent form of Rotherham is not very good. So Rotherham obviously had wholesale changes over the summer. They brought Steve Evans back, and everyone who's seen Steve Evans at Rotherham, the first image that'll come to your head will be him running down the side of the pitch at Wembley with his pants around his ankles after Alex Ravel scored a really, really great goal. But this season, it's not been going particularly great for them. Looking back at their scores so far this season, they lost 1-0 at Exeter. I know their away form was horrendous last season, and it's kind of carried on a little bit throughout this as well. They won 2-1 against Crewe in the AFL Cup. 0-0 against Bristol Rovers, Rotherham versus Bristol Rovers on the 17th of August. Football League Trophy, which Town haven't played in yet. Rotherham got a 2-0 win against Mansfield, but lost away from home again against Wickham in the league 2-0, and Fleetwood in the Football League in the League Cup. So it's not been great so far for Rotherham. And just to compound what we've heard, I'll roll in some comments from Matt Lax, who runs the Rotherham United podcast, New York Talk.
Start of the season has been nowhere near the levels we expected. End of the last season, obviously, we all know the season we had last season with just 5 wins. The motto throughout most fans with the summer was, well, at least we'll win some in League One. We haven't scored. It's been a real struggle. I'm not sure Evans knows his best team yet. Pre-season feels like it's been a shambles, based on the start of the season. It makes you wonder what they're doing pre-season, because honestly, it looks like they ain't got a clue. These players look like they've not really played together. There's no connection. There's no partnerships. It's really bad. It is really poor so far. That brings on to the expectations. The expectation was that it's going to be a tough league. You look at Birmingham with the money they spent, which is ridiculous. But even the level down from Birmingham brings you guys in there. And we all know Charlton were going to be strong. And we kind of hoped we would be in that mix of 5 or 6 teams below Brum. But it's not started off that way. Obviously, you guys 9 from 9, Charlton 9 from 9, Stockport 9 from 9, Wrexham 7 from 9, I think it is. So we're kind of behind the game, just 3 games in, which is a real concern that we're not just slightly below where we expected kind of pre-season. We're nowhere near where we expected to be. Fed up being negative. It'd be nice to be positive for once, but we'll see how that goes. The game, if that first 3 games are anything to go by, is that you'll dominate the possession. You will have loads and loads of the ball. We will still create some chances. We will probably miss the chances, and then you'll win 1 or 2-0. That's how the first 3 games we've kind of gone so far. Having said that, if we score one of our chances, there's a good chance this will click. I do feel there is something here with this team. It's just getting the ball over literally just getting the ball over the line, and then I think we may see something. Well, that's maybe more hope than expectation, to be honest with you. Any players to watch out for? If Clark Harris plays, Jonathan Clark Harris at this level is lethal. He's gradually getting better. He had an issue in pre-season just in terms of an injury, so he's still building his way up to fitness. Other than that, there really hasn't been anybody to pick out in these first 3 games, to be honest with you. That's much of a struggle it's been. There's been nobody so you can sort of hang your hat on and say, right, he's been really, really good, or it's just been well way off it. But like I said, I am confident it will click. That might be just blind optimism, to be honest with you. If you were looking at places to park, somewhere you'll always get places is the multi-storey car park, which is right in the town centre near the bus station. You don't have to pay. I think you can pay contactless now. We're coming to the 21st century in Rotherham. You can pay contactless for parking. If you are getting there early, there is free parking behind the Cutler's pub, but it is quite small. But if you're there early enough in the town centre, try and get in there because it's free. And you know what us folk from Yorkshire are like. The away fans pub is normally the Blue Coats, which is a Wetherspoons. It's just slightly outside of the town, so, marginally outside the main pubs. But it's a Wetherspoons, so you know what you're getting. It's relatively cheap and whatnot. How we will line up is, well, your guess is as good as mine, to be honest with you. We want to see wingers, but we've only got 2 wingers at the club at the minute. Obviously, this is before the deadline closes. We haven't got a fit right back at all. We were playing our best, most effective attacking midfielder at right back in the last game. Surprisingly, they conceded a penalty. So it's really tough to understand. We started the first again of the season 5 at the back, then we moved to a 4 at the back with a 4-3-3-ish. Last time it was more of a 4-4-2, but with Diamond in the middle. Like I say, Evans hasn't got a clue in terms of his best lineup at the minute. So I look forward to the starting lineup for as much as you guys do, to be honest with you, because I'm intrigued to see how he's going to come up against. I know we've got no 1 point, but this is our biggest test of the season, and that's a concern that we're only at 1 point on the board. And we always knew this game was earmarked from our side to be a tough game because I expected you guys to be up there. So it's going to be. I don't know. Let's wait and see what happens. I don't know how this will play out, and I don't know how we'll set up. But it does concern me that with our start to the season.
Right, Neil. So thanks very much to Matt for his preview there. I hate it when these things come around and you turn up somewhere and their opposition that you're playing have gone, oh, we've been rubbish lately. We've got all these players injured. We've got this player. We haven't got a right back. We haven't got this. Because Huddersfield Town throughout the past have always been charity FC, haven't they? You know,
Absolutely.
I think the biggest charity moment that I can remember for Huddersfield Town was when everything was kicking off at Leeds United and they were chasing Chilino's taxi away and everything there. And Brian McDermott had been binned the night before the game. And we went 1-0 up in that game through Danny Ward. And they pasted us 5-1. Ross McCormack was on the phone to Sky Sports News the night before.
The night before, I remember it.
And Charity FC turn up, and there you go. But is this a new Huddersfield Town? Because we do like the straight, tough talking of Michael Duff, don't we? I think Huddersfield Town are a little bit of a tougher proposition these days as well. Yeah. But injuries are starting to take the mick a little bit, Neil. We've got Bojan Radulovic's out for a couple of weeks. And then he's obviously missed most of pre-season, so it might take him a little while to get fit. Yeah. Herbie Kane's going to be out for about 5-6 weeks or so with the groin injury. Balka's going to be out for 6 months. David Kasumu is going to be out for 6 weeks. And Spencer with the shoulder, I think it was, going to be out for a couple of months. So injuries are biting. Huddersfield have had horrendous luck with injuries, I think, ever since we came down from the Premier League. We've just been absolutely... I genuinely... I know when those, I think it's a football ratios account online. They do like the 5 worst teams who've lost the most games over the last 10 years. Huddersfield Town appear.
Yeah, we're
the 5 worst teams with the worst goal difference. Huddersfield Town are top. Yeah. I can guarantee you, Huddersfield Town will be there with the worst injury record as well because it's been horrendous throughout the last
Nailed on.
But let's have a look at what we think Huddersfield Town may line up. So I think Rotherham, just looking at how Rotherham play, Rotherham are quite direct. So they seem very sort of set on, I don't think that, in fact, they're not very set on positions. I think they've been playing like a 4-3-3 system lately, which Steve Evans has settled on. But when you're not winning games, things like that can change very, very quickly, can't they? So against Fleetwood in midweek, they did again line up with a 4-3-3, but Malik Wilkes a little bit more further forward in a 4-2-3-1. And you look at the team on paper, and it's actually got quite a lot of danger across the pitch when you do so. So let's bring in the tactics board, which is a new addition this season. So we will have a very quick look, and there we go. So for you guys watching on YouTube, you will now see the tactics board. If you're listening, thanks for that, because we get better ad revenue, and we'll do our best to describe what's going on. So, Neil, I think it's going to be a 3-5-2 versus a 4-3-3 this weekend. Huddersfield Town I think, are pretty settled on the way that we're playing at the minute, and there's no reason for us to change. I look at Town's team. Lee Nichols, for me, is locked in goal. He's been fabulous this season. Yeah. I wouldn't change a thing. Mikael Helik will be locked in the middle.
Yeah,
there's a few little rumours that Tom Lees has got a bit of a niggle. Matty Pearson, I'm not sure how that works, whether he's going to be suspended or whether Town are going to... I've not listened to the pre-match presser yet, so I'm not sure whether Matty Pearson, whether they'll appeal that red card. So I'll have to look that or wait for instruction on that one. But I would imagine if Tom Lees is fit, he'll play at right centre back. Yeah. And I think this is the kind of game you want Tom Lees, because this is... Rotherham tend to be low possession, and they tend to hit a lot of diagonals, and it's that diagonal which hurts us, but they'll be hitting diagonals to big players as well. So Johnson Clark-Harris started against Fleetwood. He's obviously a bit of a pest of a striker and has scored against Town down the years. And you need people like Helik and Lees in there, because it'll be at times a lot of crosses coming in and a lot of difficulty, in what we come up against. The left-sided centre-back for me, I'm usually loath, because I'm a bit of a Wagner fanboy. So I remember David Wagner always used to say, I don't play any new players unless they've trained with us for a week or two. But I think, considering the personnel, would you be tempted to throw in Nigel Longwhite for a debut straight away?
It's not even a conversation, to be honest. He starts. I think he has to. I think even if everyone's fully fit, not suspended, etc., I think I'd still play him. You know, we say a lot about signing players who are better than what we've got, and only sign players who are better than what we've got. So, you know, he's got a good reports from his time at Plymouth. Chuck him in. Let's get on with it. And it comes. It's classic Dutch, and he comes across as a very confident young man. So I think he'll be excited to play and get out there and show what he can do.
I thought what was quite good is he must have said Huddersfield Town are a massive football club about 50 times during that 3-minute interview as well. So it's always an easy way to endear yourself to a
absolutely.
Huddersfield Town fan, isn't it? So, or a football fan, because we are fickle by nature.
Correct.
So I think that back three we agree fully on this back three.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tom Lees, if Matty Pearson isn't suspended, then maybe there's a question over who plays right centre back there. But I hope
It'd still be
Lees
Lees for me, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, if he's not fit, is where I'm going. But that's only a little rumor at the minute. So hopefully Tom Lees is fine. Jaheim Headley played great against Morecambe in the League Cup, but had a more tougher time against Walsall. So for me, he's not quite hit the heights Mikael Miller has. So for me, Mikael Miller starts against his old club at left wing back.
He has to. He was probably our best player last week against Shrewsbury.
Yeah, yeah. I think I gave
man
of the match to Lee Nichols, but yeah, Mikael Miller, if not, definitely top two there.
He starts. The wing back stayed same for me.
Yeah, same. So Sorensen and Mikael Miller, they pick themselves, don't they, at the minute?
Yeah.
I think the number 6 role will come up for some debate. For me, this is. I know I got some stick for saying horses for courses last week, and apparently I said it once or twice, which annoyed someone. But it's not. It's all right. It's not got to me. It's fine. But the number 6, this is the type of game I want Jonathan Hogg in. If it's going to be a nasty, physical, ugly game, as I'm kind of expecting, Rotherham are scrapping at the minute. They've not had the best start. They're at home. I think they'll want to be on the front foot, and I think they'll go aerial against us quite a lot. And Jonathan Hogg, for 5'8", is actually exceptional in the air for his size, and his ability just to get people to hold in a system and be compact to help win the ball and facilitate that means for me, I pick Jonathan Hogg over a Hodge, Upenda, or anybody like that. For me, I'd pick Hoggy at 6-0.
I can see your reason
after playing Saturday, Tuesday.
You see that there's a slight doubt there for me in that he has played Saturday, Tuesday, and I just think, did he play certain players on Tuesday night with a view to this Saturday maybe not playing them? I'd probably start the new lad, to be honest. And the reason behind that, I think you're right. I think they'll go and just keep slinging it. And I think there will be times when we need a football match to break out. And as we've discussed on the other pod, that's not Ogg's strength, is it? When the football match breaks out, that's not his strength. So I think the other lad being a bit more of a footballer. I think there'd have been a shout for Kasuma with fit, to be honest, for legs and energy. But I think the dreaded injuries have struck again, haven't they? I mean, the injury list that's been put out today it's horrendous for 3-4 games in.
It's piss take,
but,
isn't it?
Yeah, absolute piss take. But I would, I'd probably go Hodge.
Okay. I mean, we've got 3 central defenders there. Longvike, I think 6'4", 6'5". Helix a good 6'3", 6'4", and Tom Lees is 6-ish. But good in the air. So yeah, I mean, aerially, you've got 3 good defenders there, so there is a good argument for playing more of a ball player in front.
Yeah.
The 2 central midfielders here, I mean, they're picking themselves at the minute due to Herbie Kane's injury.
Yeah.
And they're Ben Wiles and Anthony Evans. Although form over the last 2 games has dipped slightly from, I mean, we're very early into the season, aren't we? The form has. So we are kind of like looking at them, and I think there's a chance for a Tom Upenda maybe to put pressure on both of these 2 at the minute. But for me, Ben Wiles against his old club, you write stories, don't you? Or he'll be writing stories in his head as well, going back to Rotherham and
absolutely
getting one over them, I think. And Evans, I mean, Evans coasted a little bit, didn't he, against Walsall? But you can kind of understand that, can't you, with the amount of games he's played in a short period. And I think the energy levels were just a bit off from everybody that game. So I'm quite happy for that to continue. I think they're the best 2 players in the position we've got.
Absolutely.
So that's easy.
I don't think he's going to change either of those. It's ultimately take Tuesday night out of it. We've won 3 on bouncing league. So, and they've been a real big part of that. And I think let's just forget all about Tuesday and forget it ever happened. Those 2 start, but I would like to see odds in between them.
Okay, and up front is the big question. For me, Karoma's got to start if he's ready and if he's there. Karoma starts probably with Marshall. I think I know you mentioned in the previous pod that there's a certain element of looking after him. And there's an argument for a Danny Ward in a game like this as well, where it's nasty and turgid and your experience counts. But I think Karoma's got to play. Healy, I think's got a knock.
Yeah, for a
So
change.
yeah, so it's either going to be Karoma and Ward or Karoma and Marshall, I think, for me.
It's Karoma's got to start. I think he's an absolute shoo-in. I think he's looked really good so far, to be honest.
Yeah.
And Marshall, just on the type of player that he is, I think we can end up making it totally non-football by playing Ward in there. And I think Marshall's one of those who, if it is a bit muck and bullets, is the one who's likely to pick some up in box and probably is, out of all of them, the best finisher. So I think for me, Karoma and Marshall. And then if we do sign somebody else, it'd be nice to see them sat on bench ready to come on and get half an hour, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, looking at Rotherham's team, they've had Dylan Phillips in goal, and he was all the rage not so long since in the Championship.
Yeah.
O'Doffin's been playing right back, who I think he's the midfielder. Cameron Humphreys, centre back with Jamie McCart. James at left back. Liam Kelly, the experienced midfielder, has been in midfield. Yeah. McWilliams and Powell played against Wickham. Up front, Malik Wilkes is a player who's been decent in League One circles before, ex Leeds junior. Hugill and Nombe have played up front, and we've got Johnson Clark Harris as well, and those are sort of like bruising strikers who sort of soften your centre backs up. So it's going to be a tough one. I think this is going to be a bit of an attritional one, Neil, and we'll come out of the tactics board now because we need to wrap this up quite sharpish. But for me, it's an attritional one. In terms of predictions, what would you be going for?
Well, they've not scored a league goal yet, have they?
That's going to change, isn't it? Because as soon as we say that, it's
Rotherham United won, and I think Town will nick it 2-1.
You think so?
And it can't be as bad as that game there last season, because that one at worst games I've ever seen.
Do you know what? I think it's going to be a draw. I'm going to go 1-1. And I just think it's going to be a horrible game, but I think 1-1 will be quite good by the end of the season. I think it'll be. I think now we might look at it and go, oh, it's maybe a missed opportunity, but I think come the end of the season, it'll actually be a decent point.
I know quite a few Rotherham fans. I'm with them before the game on Saturday as well, and there's a lot of unrest around there already. Quite a lot of people not happy that Evans is back, and quite a lot of people really happy with how it's gone so far, which classic football fans, and I think they had an even worse season than us last season, which is difficult, but they did. So I think they're riding the crest of a slump, and it's normally welcome Matt out for Huddersfield Town, isn't it? But let's book the trend. If this season's going to be different, let's book the trend and go win 2-1.
Exactly. So, I mean, we could win this one. I don't know. I look at it and think, oh, this is another one we can win. And maybe it's just me, my natural state of being a Huddersfield fan who just thinks, oh, I can't predict us to win every week because that doesn't happen. So, but I do fancy us. I do think it's a good time to play them, but Rotherham could snap out of this slump at any time because they've got the players to do so. So I'm playing safe this week and going for a draw, even if I do think we can win this game. But I also think we could possibly lose it if we don't turn up with the right
Town in it
as well. So here's Killer's prediction anyway.
Well, I said before the Shrewsbury game that I didn't think there was anyone worse in the division than them, and then Rotherham might actually be pushing them a little bit here. 3 games in now, not scored a goal. Steve Evans falling out of everyone, up to his usual antics on the sideline. It's one of those games where at the beginning of the season you kind of look at it and think, oh, it's going to be a toughie there. Let's go and just try and maybe snatch a point or backs against the walls a little bit and win the game when you get one of your few chances. But looking at it now and the form we're in, this really is another one we have to go and try and really take 3 points. It's another one a bit like Peterborough first game of the season where it's the right time to play him because they've not gelled yet and Rotherham are really struggling. Evans will get it right with them as long as he stays there long enough, but in time they will get a little bit better. But for now, they are poor. It couldn't come at a better time for us. But then you're looking at us recently and against Stevenage in that second half, we weren't great. Against Shrewsbury in the second half, we were quite lucky to come away with 3 points. And this is a little bit of a tricky fixture for Town. I think we'll have enough. But maybe this is more on faith than it is on analysis. I think the new lads, Hodge and Lon Van Wyck or whatever it is, Lonwick, Nigel. I think they'll both come in and start straight away. Spencer's been iffy at a left centre back, and either obviously he's going to drop out, or you can see him switching to the right hand side. And having Tom Lee's missed on this one, Johnny Ogg's underperformed recently, and I'd be very surprised if George didn't start straight away. I think that's kind of expected. What isn't expected, or what's hard to work out, is how we'll go up top. Marshall's obviously scored and done all right, so I'm expecting him to play again. But then Karoma's scored again midweek, and for me, as Matt and I spoke about before, he's a 20 goals in 40 games a season striker, I think, at this level, and I know not everybody agrees, but that's where I'm at with him. But can they play together? I'm not entirely sure. Or will Taylor be in before the weekend's games? It's an interesting one. I'm going to stick with Town. I'm going to go 2-1 Town. I think Rotherham will break the duck, because Town kind of do that when we're playing against teams, and to go 4 games in League One without a goal is quite unheard of. So I reckon Rotherham will get one, but I think Town will just maybe have a bit much for him. Maybe on form and belief than necessarily ability at this point. Go 2-1 Town. I'll have another goal from Marshall. I reckon Sorensen might open his account with us and put the second one in. I'll go 2-1 Town.
All right, cheers from the man himself. Neil, thanks for being on.
Pleasure.
And we'll see you more throughout the course of the season. And hit those credits.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown, and they're the pride of the town, and the game of football is their delight. And all the while upon the field of play, thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, and every goal shall be a memory. So Town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So Town, play up and bring the cup back to Huddersfield.